Here's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if you want.
Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Thank you so much for checking it out wherever you are listening. Thanks for doing so. And as always, I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, here with you with another episode and a very special one that I'm excited about. You know, we're at the end of another month, so I have your November rundown. But on top of that, this is our first monthly rundown where I've had a guest, and I'm actually going to have two guests a little bit later on this episode, which I'm very excited for. Christian Lesperance, who we've had on a few months back in August. I say a few months, and then I start thinking damn, we're going into December, and me and him talked. He was the first guest of August, so it's been a few months, but talked to him as well as Josh from the band Right Turn Eddie, and he is now on a brand new Jersey Interchange song. It is a cover of the Gaslight Anthem's Casanova Baby, and we'll get to that a little later on. But I mean, speaking of which, we're doing the November rundown, talking about the new music of the month. That's as new as it gets. We're premiering a song, right here on the, if you're listening to this day that it comes out on the 30th, very last day of November. Yeah. So, I mean, you're hearing some pretty damn new music, and even if you're not listening on that day, it's probably still pretty recent, and you're listening to new stuff. If you're listening even further away, hell, I don't know, maybe this is the 20th time you'll hear the song. Who knows? It is damn good, though, so well worth it. But yeah, at the end of another month, I do apologize. Last week, did not have a new episode for you. But just kind of got sidetracked with some stuff, got busy, and just never happened. And then never had a guest booked, so I was kind of well, okay, we'll hold off this one. But this month we did have another guest, Stephen. Very New Jersey month for us, because our other guest besides on this episode with Christian and Josh was Stephen Erotic earlier on in the month, from Shower with Goats, New Jersey pop punk band. So we're in that New Jersey punk rock hemisphere this month, and not a bad place to be. Such a special scene that I'm very happy that I've been able to I've been interested in it now for the last maybe 10 years, really knowing it. I mean, I've probably been listening to some bands that were that came out of that whole scene for longer, but my actually knowing what that scene was, I'm talking about that late 90s, early 2000s pop punk ska scene in New Jersey, and probably the last 10 years really knowing what it was, and just kind of realizing it. And now to be able to do this show and have people on who were musicians in those bands, who people who booked those shows, and just who were part of that scene, just in general, we're just a part of it in some way, somehow. Very special to me, and very cool that I can do it on here, and I said it when I had Steve on. I mean, Steve was my very first guest back in 2016, so taking this all the way back to the very first year of the Power Chord Hour in our very first interview, I'm always down with that New Jersey punk, pop punk, ska of that era, and I love having those people on and talking about it with them. It's been very, very cool, because it's just one of those things, and I don't know, I tend to be that way. I mean, I love a lot of new music. I try to highlight it on here, but I will say I'm definitely someone at the age of 28. There's a lot of things that I've gotten into, and definitely music-wise, that was so long after the fact. So it's cool to talk to people who were there, drive-through records. I got into all the drive-through bands and the big stuff. I mean, earlier on, but really, it's kind of I'm talking about with the New Jersey pop punk scene being actually realizing that there's a scene going on there and going and checking out the bands, not just the few that you may know of. Same with drive-through records. I Newfound Glory and Hello Goodbye and stuff. But about a decade ago, it would have been 2010, 2011, I started checking out the more obscure bands and all the comps and stuff like that. And, so there's a lot of things. And I mean, that's only 10 years. There's other things like this year, I'm just discovering how much I like X. And it's like, all right, like 40 years later, I'm realizing like how genius their album Los Angeles is, so there's a lot of things that like I was just, age wise wasn't around for, or was around, but just way too young, wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. So to be able to talk to people who were there, were part of those scenes, is always really cool to me. I mean, as you probably see too, a lot of times guests on this show, I'll have people who are in like older bands or bands that aren't even around anymore, because it interests me, in a lot of ways where it's like, I wasn't there, you were. Tell me about this thing that I love, this thing that I probably romanticize in my head and everything, and to actually have an actual account from that, is very, very cool. So you'll hear that later, just shortly. I'll keep dialogue here a little shorter on this one, since we do have a nice little interview for you in the middle, but a little hybrid here. I mean, obviously new music, but a nice little interview, and on top of talking about the new music of the month and music news and all that good stuff. But yeah, and I don't know, very busy month for me, I would say. I think that's the other reason why I was kind of slacking there on the podcast for a week or so. But yeah, started the month in the best way that I can, my favorite way, in the back of my Honda Element. For my birthday trip, a little bit of an early birthday trip, but I went up to Vermont, which I talked about this already on a past episodes, but went up to Vermont for a couple days. Was the last state I had to hit in the lower 48, so got to knock that off and go do some hiking up there on mostly the Appalachian Trail in the Green Mountain National Forest, but hit some other areas too, as well as Burlington for about the day. I spent about the day in Burlington, but besides that, yeah, mostly just in the woods. A lot of hiking, and just that weird like November weather where it's snowing one day and then the next day it's like 60 degrees, like that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I like the 60 degrees a little more. There were a couple days, because I will sleep in my car up until it's like, I mean, I don't know. I can't even say that, because I've slept in my car in some really dumbass conditions. I've slept in my car in Texas in June, in San Antonio well, that's just one. I slept many places in Texas in my car, but yeah, one I can remember was San Antonio, sleeping in my car in June, and it was like 104 degrees. My phone said, and yeah, and that was pretty damn warm. Couple nights I slept in Arizona a few years ago on my first cross-country trip, where yeah, like I woke up in the middle of the night just sweating my ass off, like, oh my God, and I'm trying to be not suspicious, because a lot of times I'm sleeping in a Walmart parking lot or like a truck stop or something, but including at a Walmart parking lot, like, you don't particularly want to bring too much attention upon yourself. So it's like, you don't want a bunch, like if I have all my windows down, I have a couple fans running, it's like, all right, they're going to go, yeah, someone's sleeping in that car, where like, I like to be a little more inconspicuous and be like, let no one really know someone's sleeping there. But I definitely had to crank the windows down for that one. And then the other way, my dumbass has slept on, I think probably the worst, right on the side of the road on Lake Superior on the North Shore of Minnesota in February. And I remember waking up just shaking, like the second I took my sleeping bag off, my body just violently, my legs, my arms, my face, like everything just violently shaking. I was like rushing around looking for my glasses in my back seat. I couldn't see shit. I was just trying to find my glasses so I could find my car keys so I could turn the heat on. And yeah, I could definitely not fall back asleep, even turning like the car heat on, unless I was just going to let it idle, and I wasn't going to do that. I'm like, there was no way I was going to be able to sleep. I woke up at like 5 in the morning, like, all right, I guess I'm up. So, sometimes there's some not super flattering conditions for sleeping in your car, which I'm sure anyone who has slept in their car will tell you that. But most of the time, I would say like 8 times out of 10, it's all good and a much cheaper way to travel. I mean, honestly, that's why I've been able to hit. I just turned 28 a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I mean that's how I was able to hit all 48 states, within the last couple years. Definitely sleeping in my car, and also sleeping like on couches and floors of friends and family and stuff. But definitely my car has been like the biggest lifesaver with that. I mean, there's no way, even shitty motels, like $40 motels, like those things add up if you sleep in those every night. So it's like, I shout out to my Honda Element, and actually Honda Elements, I've went through 2 in the last 5 years, but I had my 2004 RIP. I wrecked it with 256,000 miles on it, and now I'm on to my 2003 that right now has 156,000 miles on it, and I'll ride that fucker into the ground too. Those things go forever. My dumbass wanted to have rear-ended somebody with the other one. That thing still would have kept running with 256,000 miles on it. So it was a big thing for me this month, you know. I mean, I definitely stayed, because once again, it is weird to be like, hey, like I traveled up to Vermont, you know, in the middle of a pandemic, but you know, I stayed in the woods. I hiked. I really had very little interaction. You know, Burlington was probably the most I had, and even that was just going into a couple different places. I did hit up a record store. I forget what it was called. Pop was in the name. It like Pop Tunes or something. If you live in Burlington or you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's it like is a downstairs, like going into like a basement kind of. There's probably a better name for it. I'm probably really describing it in a really shitty way, but yeah, really cool record store, and you know, something that I don't get to really go to much these days for obvious reasons. And it was kind of nice to just go hit that up and get out of town for a little bit. So that's how I started my November. And it was very nice. It was a personal goal of mine to hit that and hit all lower 48 states before I turned 28, and that was cool. But yeah, you know, besides that though, that's like the eventfulness of now. Because I was thinking of like this time last year, and I was like, man, like last December, I was in New York City twice. This month, November of last year, I was moving back home from Minneapolis and spending my birthday in Chicago and just hanging out with friends on the way. And once again, that Honda Element, the one that I rear-ended someone in, I moved all my shit back like in 3 trips. No U-Haul. I had to move all my shit back in the back of that. But it took like 3 trips back and forth. And trust me, I don't mind that. Some people don't like driving. I love that shit. I don't like flying places. I would much rather... The thing that I've realized from doing this, and I'll get back onto music. I try not to like get into like traveling and hiking too much, because that's like my other loves besides music. But I try to keep them out of here. I try to keep it as mostly music. But I will say, like, you know, I mean, depending where you're listening from, but I will say this though, actually, the flip side of that, depending where you're listening from, there are some other countries who actually like really appreciate like the roadside attraction, the Route 66, those small town America, and like, you know, like all that like in between stuff, like a lot more than some people who live in this country do. And like, I think I didn't realize it till I started traveling more, but there's such cool shit to go see here. Like I want to now travel abroad. Now it's like, okay, I've seen our country, time to go see other countries. But it's like, it's so crazy to me how many people I talk to who just don't know how much cool shit there is. Like, I'm not talking about like, you know, Oregon and Washington, like those are awesome, you know, or New York State or something like that. But like, there's cool, like Oklahoma's a rad place, you know, like I was talking about Texas earlier, like there's cool sections of Texas, you know, New Mexico, Arizona, like really cool shit down there. Even Kansas has some neat stuff. Like there's neat stuff in every state really. And I just think there's just huge chunks of the country that people just never see, and just kind of write off as like something you don't have to see. And it's like, no, you like because there's something different everywhere. Like you realize how big this country is, and there's like a different personality everywhere. There's different things, you know, you have different climates, you have different, like Utah's a great place, but it's like, that's where I like to go climb shit and, you know, see like big red, like rock mountains and things like that. Whereas like, you know, there's other states where like in Kansas, I like to go to like, say, Lawrence, Kansas. That's one of the best like college towns. There's cool dive bars there. There's cool things to go do. You know, there's like 13 miles of Route 66 that go through Kansas that are really, really rad. So, you know, I love driving and like going through small town America and finding like weird old stuff, just kitschy stuff. I like old architecture too. Like I love Art Deco and just random things that like you'll be like, nothing I love more too. And sometimes it bites me in the ass. It's very 50-50 the way that I travel sometimes, because more times than not, I'll kind of get in the car and have like a rough idea of what I'm going to do, but just a real, like I like to have the freedom. I like to do a lot of solo traveling. Like, to me, the ideal way of going is travel by yourself, but go meet up with friends and stuff places. So it's like travel by yourself, but every couple days you're in a different city with a different friend. Like, to me, that's my favorite way of traveling, because everything in between, you can do whatever the hell you want, really. You know, you have less of a timeline. You have less people you got to please. You only got to please yourself there. So you can do whatever the hell you want, go see whatever you want. And that's what I like about that. You know, I love driving through small places. And anyways, just kind of doing that like off the cuff, and, you know, just driving through a small town and finding like a really old building, you know, like 100-year-old building, and just looking at the architecture. Like, I don't know tons about it. I just know what I like. And old Googie stuff, if you don't know what Googie is, go look that up. Really cool architecture, like basically like 50s style architecture. Really, really neat stuff. But I love seeing all that stuff. And it's just like, it's free entertainment. I mean, obviously, you got to put gas in your car. I mean, that's probably my biggest expense is gas. It's definitely not hotels, because like I said, I sleep in my car. But, you know, there's so much free, cool shit to see that all you got to do is just get in your car, get off the interstates, fuck the interstate, you know, get off those, you're not going to see anything cool on the interstates. Get off those, find cool highways and, you know, like scenic byways, all that stuff. And you just find amazing shit. Like, you know, it really, not sound cheesy, but it becomes like the journey more than actually getting to the destination, because on the way you start finding all this cool, you know, including now, I mean, as I record this Saturday night, I guess it is technically Small Business Saturday. And it's like, you talk about small businesses, like go hit Route 66, like, you know, you'll find small businesses and mom and pop places everywhere. I mean, there's places you'll go find that have been fucking mom and pop stores since, like, you know, since Route 66, you know, was commissioned back in 1926, like things like that, you know, and I love finding things like that. So I don't know, that's what I really think is cool is like Route 66 is one of them. And I always say this, and then I'll get off travel. We'll get back into music, but something I find super intriguing, I think this is so neat. You go through Route 66, and there are so many people from different countries. There are more people from different countries, I would say, visiting Route 66 than other Americans. Like, when you go on there, there are just people from all these different walks of life, all these different countries, because that's what they see. Like the old show Route 66, which doesn't really get played over here, but I would say well worth going and checking out, actually. Like, really holds up well. Like, actually a really good show. And funny enough, not even half, most of that show didn't even take place on Route 66, but that's what it's called. And people get that like idea of that Americana and like, you know, Corvette, like driving Route 66 in a Corvette and, you know, stopping at like those mom and pop places on the way through these small towns. And, you know, they romanticize that and they see that and they come here and do that. I think that's the raddest thing, that someone would come to this country from somewhere else, and instead of, you know, like hitting up, like, say, which you do hit up major cities in that way. Like, don't get me wrong, like Chicago, Los Angeles, like those are on there, so you do hit those. But outside of hitting those people come here and there's going and seeing like Miami, Oklahoma. Like small towns like that, you know what I mean? Or like driving through Kansas and stuff and seeing parts of this country, which quite frankly, most Americans will probably never go, like even take the time to go see, which, you know, that's, I guess that's my PSA. Like I want to go see the entire, you know, the entire world. I want to go see the whole damn thing. I want to go see other countries, but there's so many people here who want to go see other countries, but never see like the rest of the United States. And I just got to tell you, there's so much rad shit out there to go see. I can tell you that personally. The last 5 years I've spent going to the lower 48 states and Hawaii. Just got to hit Alaska now. But there's so much cool shit to see everywhere. You know, I would say every state has at least one or two redeemable qualities to go check out. You know, some states are better than others. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're all equal. You know, there's definitely states that have more cool things to do and more things to do than others. But yeah, you know, I would not like, you know, throw out the idea of checking out, you know, basically small town America and just these really pockets of cool throughout, you know, that are not just on, you know, they're not just in California or in New York Florida or something like that, But that is my little travel rant. But yeah, that was a big thing this month, hitting that before I was 28 meant a lot to me. So I was very happy to do that. I know the podcast suffered for it because I got a little behind with it, but we got that. And hey, we also had that throwback episode with Stephen Jenkins of Third Eye Blind from a few years ago, one of my very first interviews ever, which was very, very cool to put back up and put that out there again and listen to again. I hadn't listened to it in a while there, but that one I'll always be very proud of. Very short interview, not a lot. That, you know what I mean? Like just short and sweet, just a couple questions. But, someone who I look up to musically and has loved his music for so long, and, that being one of my first ever interviews, and just everything around it will always have a special place in my heart. So it was cool to finally get that out here. But yeah, that was the Power Chord Hour this month, and the radio showed. We didn't miss an episode. That was one thing we stayed on. It's much easier to do that because if I get behind on things, I can always just make a nice big playlist and do the radio show. I don't always need to have a topic or a guest. I can just go on and spin songs for 2 hours and just bullshit about music, which I love to do. Which you ain't doing anything to hurt me. If I go on for a week and just play some music and talk about it in between. But yeah, that's been the Power Chord Hour this month. But outside of the Power Chord Hour, tons of good new music. We're going to get to one of the songs here very shortly and get into our interview here. But some new music of the month, November 2020. We got quite a bit good stuff, and some being surprise releases. I think there's a decent amount of those this month. One of them, I Am the Avalanche with Dive. That one kind of came out of nowhere. But really, really good stuff. I hit Vinny up. I would love to get Vinny Caruana on here to talk about the new record. It absolutely rips. And actually as well, too, because the Movie Life's this time next year turns 20, or did turn 20 this year. And one of my favorites, would love to talk to him about those. But that bad boy Dive, definitely go check that out. If you're a fan of I Am the Avalanche, does not disappoint. That is out on I Surrender Records. Our buddy Rob Hitt from Midtown, that's his label. Let's go check that out. Rad Key, one of the greatest live bands I have ever seen, 100%, just one of the best. Their new album, Green Room, just so good. I go check them out. They're very independent. I mean, I know they self-release most of this stuff. I think they self-record a lot of it. Like, these guys are very self-sufficient, and they are a touring band. Like, this is a band that tours their asses off. And I'm sure this whole pandemic has not helped them. I mean, all musicians were affected by this, but the ones who tour 10 months out of the year, Rad Key being one of them, definitely took a hit. So, I mean, go check out that new album, radkey.bandcamp.com. Go check out their website, radkey.com, all that stuff. Probably a band a little bigger than Rad Key. You might know this one, but Smashing Pumpkins got a new one out, and CYR, not sure exactly how the hell you pronounce it. Sire, I'm not entirely sure, but CYR, go check that one out. I'm always a fan. I love the classic Smashing Pumpkins, but I am someone who actually likes more of certain songs, not even full albums, but there's a lot of later era Smashing Pumpkins stuff that I think gets overlooked, including specific songs and stuff that I think after the year 2000 just really got overlooked with them. I think people are kind of giving them a little more now that with the reunion with a couple of the original members there. I think they're kind of. People are kind of being more it's not so Billy Corgan being as experimental. So I think people are kind of giving it some of their stuff more of a shot again, which I think is very, very cool. But go check that one out. Art Bergman, who will play this song later, but he just put a new one out with Wayne Kramer of MC5, so it's good. Christo Fascist, and we'll play that later on here on the podcast. But a nice little fired up single there. And again, released from a buddy of the show, Steve Kravick, on his record label, Porterhouse Records. A great new single from the Chats, AC/DC CD. They put that one out to help promote the new AC/DC record, which also came out this month. I've not listened to all of it. I've heard a few songs off of it, and I like it. I mean, I like AC/DC enough. They're one of those bands where sometimes people who don't like that, and I'm a very casual AC/DC fan. I know mostly the hits. I'm not someone who could probably name a bunch of like really obscure deep cuts, but something that I will say about them is like it's funny sometimes with people who don't like them because it's like, oh, all the songs sound the same or this. It's like, no, they're this formulaic band where it's like they've just figured out what really works for them. They're not a band who are going to get super experimental, but you don't want them to be. Like, they're just AC/DC. Like, you don't want an experimental fucking record from AC/DC. Like, they just like really loud rock and roll. Like, they're great at it. And it's like, so why do anything else? Like, they stick to what they know and what they're good at. And the song or two that I've heard off their new record is pretty good. And the chats, though, you got to go check that out. AC/DC CD is really damn good. So go check both those out. Billy Joe Armstrong with No Fun Mondays. That is his new one with all those covers he's been doing this year. Jello Biafra put out a new one this year, or new this year, but new this month. Tea Party Revenge Porn. Joe Normal, our buddy, Living in the Burrow, brand new single from him. We'll play that later on here. Guided by Voices, Styles We Paid For. The Network, who is definitely not Green Day, just put out their EP Trans Am, and they did announce an upcoming album, Money Money 2020, Told You So, in reference to their first record, Money Money 2020. And I like that they're back. I like the Network, and the band that is definitely not Green Day. It is cool to see them doing more stuff. Jeff Coomer of the early November put out a new single, Whirlwind, and he's done a couple solo things throughout the years, which are really good, very underrated. People forget about those, but well worth going and checking out. I know he has one record that he put out in like, I think 08 or 09. And actually, I want to say like the Dudes and Man Overboard were like his backing band on it. But there's a couple jams on there, well worth checking out if you go look him up. But cool, he's doing new music. The Juliana Theory, talking about new music, they just put out a first new song in, I mean, probably 20 years. But Can't Go Home, their brand new single, and more where that came from. And Jersey Interchange, who we're about to talk to Christian and Josh, have put out a few new songs this month. We're going to get into them, and I will play them, as well as the world premiere right here of Jersey Interchange's new cover of the Gaslight Anthem's Casanova Baby. You hear that right after our interview here on the November rundown of the Power Chord Hour. Right now on the Power Chord Hour, we got two guests for you on this episode, and very excited. Returning to the show is Christian of Jersey Interchange, and for the first time, we got Josh of the band Right Turn Eddie, and Josh is on the brand new Jersey Interchange cover of the Gaslight Anthem's Casanova Baby off their 2008 record, The 59 Sound, and we're actually premiering that right here. Going to be the first place you'll be able to hear it, and we'll play it here after we talk to Christian and Josh a little bit. So, guys, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? Great.
Doing good. I'm, like I said, I mean, anyone who listens to the show, Christian, you were back in August, which I didn't realize it had been that long, but I guess it has been a few months now. So, like, kind of catch people up. Like, what has been going on with Jersey Interchange since back in August? What have you guys been working on? What has been going on with the project?
So still, putting out lots of songs. We kind of changed the format a little bit. Before, it was a little bit easier to just pump out songs every week, basically. And now that things have gotten, I don't want to say back to normal, but, people are, I guess, adjusting to the quarantine life and working from home and doing all this stuff. It's a little bit harder to, get songs out week to week. So we've just kind of taken a step back, but we're still releasing, kind of batches of songs here and there. I think, let me just pull up since we last talked, I think we had a Misfits cover. What else?
Yeah,
I did
right.
that one.
You sang on that one, correct?
Not to like promote my own stuff. We had Ian Musgrove from the June Spirit did a really, really quiet and somber ballad that I don't think anybody was expecting, but it was awesome. Joe Polito, who is another one that I don't think anybody's expecting. Joe Polito is the NGPP Archives mastermind, proctor, whatever you want to call it. But he did a song all on his own, too. He did everything for it of a really, I don't know if you call them obscure, but they're not probably known outside of most Jersey punk avenues, called Your Mom Will Love Us. And then, of course, we had Heath Saraceno helping us out again with another song, and also on that same song, Sean McGovern was an Ergs cover. And since then, you know, we also did which was kind of cool, a not live, but in essence, it was live on the boardwalk in Asbury Park, song with Jeff Davidson, who was formerly of Catch 22 and the Derringers. He did his like acoustic reggae take on the Bouncing Souls, and that actually was probably our best performing song. A lot of people were into that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into that, because I got a huge kick out of it. I mean, like, yeah, like explain to people who like don't know. Like, I thought that was such a great idea what you guys did for the recording of that song.
Well, thanks. It basically was just kind of a seed of Jeff wanting to play the song "Gone" because that meant a lot to him, and he stripped it down to basically it was just him and a guitar, and I asked him one day, like, what do you think if we had like a choir to kind of like back you up? And then we kind of just put two and two together. We said, well, the Bouncing Souls are now they are kind of their summer home is at Asbury Park on the Jersey Shore. And we just kind of said, why don't we get some people together, put out the word. So we put out, you know, a Facebook flash, invite to anybody who wanted to come down and help us sing. And we got about 15 people to come out, and it was an interesting process because we'd never done anything like this before, and it went really smooth. Our guy Nick Flito, who was in the band One Cool Guy, helped us out. He's been mixing a lot of the songs for Jersey Interchange too, so he did all the live production at the boardwalk and also played trumpet on the song. So he did he did a little bit of double duty, which is cool because it just kind of shows the whole DIY ethic, and it was a cool moment, and we were all glad that everybody kind of embraced it. So
yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know, it was very neat. I also got a kick out of it. I mean, I think Asbury Park's like my favorite place I've ever been in New Jersey and stuff. So I thought like all of that together was just very fitting. Seemed like a fitting place to like do it and everything. And I thought it came out great too.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it was definitely one of our more well received songs, and I know Jeff and all of us are proud of it too. So.
And then, for the new one that we're going to be premiering here, the cover of Casanova Baby.
Yes.
For this one, guys, I mean, which one of you, who chose this song? Whose idea was it to do it? Which, again, I mean, which people will hear after this, but another really, really good cover. You guys did great on this one as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let Josh handle.
Okay, cool. Christian approached me and we talked about a couple different songs, and he brought up Casanova Baby, and I've always liked the Gaslight Anthem, so it seemed like a fun fit. Although, when he approached me about it, I really didn't know how we were going to be doing it, like what kind of style of music. And he had given me kind of the drums, and because I am clueless on how to program drums. So Christian programmed the drums for me, and the song just kind of really took a whole form. The way it came out, I just did not envision it originally, when he originally approached me about it. And I'm like super excited about it and proud about it. It was definitely a learning experience, and it's just something that kind of grew organically throughout the process. We've kind of changed it a couple times throughout it. And again, the way it came out, I never would have envisioned that from the get-go. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I like it because it doesn't I feel like you kind of gave it your own like vibe to it. Like it doesn't sound like just a straight up cover of the original. I feel like you guys picked a good song too, because there's like even if there's songs off like say the 59 Sound, for example, there's a few of those where I feel like you could probably play it more straightforward. But I feel like you guys picked a good one where you could like put your own like twist on it. Like there was kind of room there to like add and kind of like do it a different style,
Yeah, definitely. It's nothing like the original, which is cool. And sorry.
Oh no, man, go ahead.
I was gonna say it was a really cool experience, considering I've never recorded at home myself. My experience with bands has always been actually going into a studio and not having the ability to sit down in your house and kind of work on this. So it was a big learning experience and just super cool, so I was very thankful to Christian.
And you kind of built your own studio though, didn't you?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, so I have, my house is like a modern contemporary, so it's very open. And the first couple takes we did, Christian kept coming back and he's like, dude, it's like the mixes are so loud. There's so much noise. And I was like, oh, all right. So then I convinced the wife to let me take about like half of the garage, and I built a little recording studio in there, which was kind of like a double. I was like, oh yeah, it's really for the song, honey. But
now you got a studio out of it.
Correct. So it was actually quite cool.
That's very neat. And besides you guys, who else does play on this cover?
So Christian did drums, and he did a guitar for like a rhythm guitar. I did rhythm and leads and vocals, and then I also played bass on it. We had someone lined up who didn't work out, but and then I had my old bass player from Right Turn Eddie, who actually originally is a guitar player. He did like some lead rhythmish guitars on it as well. So that was kind of cool because I got to reacquaint with him, which I haven't played with him in many years at this point.
Oh, that's cool. And I mean, like, really for people too, Right Turn Eddie, I know you guys were a part of that like New Jersey punk scene. And if you guys if you want to talk for a second, like, how long were you guys around? Like did you guys play many shows? Like, what was kind of the history, I guess you will, like a quick little rundown of like Right Turn Eddie?
Yeah, Right Turn Eddie came out in like 95, I want to think. And we came out at a time, we were kind of a little younger in the scene compared to the rest of the guys. Most of the bands from the Jersey scene came out a little after us. And we were a real oddball ska band because we were a mix of heavy metal, punk rock, really fast ska, and we never really fit with most ska bands. Most of them would look at us like they wanted to stab us at the end of the show. And most punk rock bands liked us, but didn't understand us. So we kind of didn't fit in anywhere, and it kind of allowed us to play a lot of different shows. Although we did play with a lot of big ska bands over the years. We were probably around for a solid 4 years, and we got to play with the Toasters, the Scoffalaws. We did a Les and Jake show down at the Trocadero in Philly, and a handful of other bands. I can't MU330 and a bunch of other ska bands from around the country. But it was we were just kind of a really weird band, so we never quite fit in.
That's cool.
And I just realized the other day, I told Josh that I was looking through some old files and pictures and stuff. They actually played the first show I ever threw.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it was just it was a random memory. I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of crazy how this all is now circling back around. But yeah, they played. Right Turn Eddie played, and actually, even weirder is that was the show that my band played. The only show I ever played, because that's when I realized I did not like being on stage. But so Josh, we actually played together. We played a show together before. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, that kind of comes into the next question I was going to ask. Like, I mean, how long have you guys known each other? Like, when did you meet each other? I mean, you were both obviously a part of the scene back in the day.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if Josh and I were like, I don't think we actually knew each other per se.
Yeah, no.
And then, like, maybe I gave him the money to pay them for that show. But besides that,
we probably crossed paths. But
right.
Yeah, we were a weird band where we didn't have any booking agents. So literally everybody's phone number in the band, we'd all book shows. And sometimes we'd literally play 3 or 4 shows on a Saturday and a Sunday, both days, because we'd be like, oh crap, we're totally overbooked. All right, let's just do all of them. Wow. And yeah, so it was pretty interesting. And me and Christian kind of really met for the most part when he approached me. I think it was April or May, and doing this project. So
yeah,
that's cool. And I mean,
I was definitely a fan. Obviously, I was definitely a fan of Right Turn Eddie. So like, I think what really fueled us meeting was probably the Quarantunes. Because Josh was one of the first people to do the Quarantunes that the NJPP group does on Facebook. For anybody that's not familiar with Quarantunes, it's I think it's on their 7th or 8th edition now. Yeah. Basically, it's just a stay-at-home acoustic event like on a Friday night where, 5 or 6 artists from the NJPP scene and beyond kind of just come together and play for an audience of NJPP fans. So, and Josh, you've done it like twice now, I think, right? 3 times?
I think 3 times at this point. Well, I've done
nice.
2 official shows, and then he actually, the guy who does it, called me like one Friday night, and the guy dropped out. He's like, "Can you hop on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do some covers."
Oh, nice. I mean, outside of Right Turn Eddie, I mean, did you play in many other bands in between, or was that kind of like the main band that you played in?
I'd say that was like the main popular New Jersey punk band I played in. After Right Turn Eddie, I actually I worked for UPS at the time, and I was a computer specialist. So I literally traveled all over the world fixing computer systems. So I didn't really have much time for bands at the time. And then then you start families and things get busy. And I've only just kind of played in bands, like little fun bands, just to kind of get the stress relief out. But no, never got very serious again about it. So
Nice.
This has been kind of awesome for that reason. So I've been able to do something very creative and get those juices flowing.
Well, I like that because I feel like, Christian, you've done that for like, I mean, we kind of talked about this last time you were here. Like, I feel like you've done that for a few people where like people who you haven't heard anything from in a very long time, like musically, and you like get them to put something out. I'm always like, oh my God, like that's great. Like a lot of people are like, man, like you haven't heard them really, like you haven't heard them record anything in like well over a decade, sometimes more than a decade. A decade may be like, kind of on the shorter end. So like that's really cool. And I mean, we might have even talked about it last time, but has this a lot of people that you've approached to do this? Have you been approaching more people like you're talking about with Josh, where like you guys didn't really know each other beforehand? Like have you been meeting a lot more people who maybe you crossed paths back in the day, but really didn't know it until now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say at least half of the people that are involved with the project, we had friends of friends, or, we were just in the scene and, that's that, like we kind of accept each other for that. But for the most part, yeah, really, I mean, there's been a few people I've reached out to who I don't know from East Jabib, but, like they're just like really accepting of the project and really want to be involved. So, there's some that would rather not, and that's cool too. But it's definitely been a cool process to connect and reconnect with people who I haven't seen or talked to in a long time, especially Josh too.
Nice. And, for the new, I was thinking about this for the new song that we'll play here shortly, Casanova Baby. I mean, is this the newest song that you've covered so far? I was thinking this is probably like the most like, I guess, quote unquote, modern song from like the New Jersey scene that you've covered so far.
A good question. You're probably, I'm looking at the list here.
Because I'm going off the top of my head. I may be wrong.
No, I think you might be right. Either that or the Ergs was a little bit. I mean, they were.
Oh yeah, the Ergs might be the same era.
But I think what the 59 sound came in what 07, 08?
Yeah, or 08, I think.
08, so that you might be right.
But I was wondering that then, like, I mean, if you, I guess not that you were like against it before, but like, do you see yourself doing maybe more like modern covers? Like it seems like now, like with that, kind of going into like later eras than like, I know like some of the original songs, like Misfits and stuff like that, but I know a lot of the kind of initial run was like that, like late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, do you see yourself kind of going a little further, I guess more, once again, kind of quote unquote modern with some of the covers?
I don't know, only because I don't know much music past 2008. So, I mean, well, it's not so true, but like there's also there wasn't a huge wave of, organic, not to call it NJPP, but just organic music from like that scene, that kind of, I don't know how to say it. I guess
I get what you're getting at.
It kind of died. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I think a band like Gaslight, even though they kind of were born from the scene, kind of hit it big after all that was over with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So for me, I mean, it's kind of a a moment in time in a way. Just because I'm not going to cover a Taylor Swift song or know, like whatever. I think, there's definitely some cooler New Jersey bands, like Nightbirds or Teenage Halloween that are coming out now. And I've actually, I've made an effort to try and figure out what's hip, what's coming down the pike in the scene. But it's just, in a way, it's almost like, are we going to cover a Teenage Halloween song in 2020 when they just put out a record?
Yeah.
Whereas it also doesn't lend itself to nostalgia that much. And I think that's what a lot of this project is based in. So I guess that's probably the best answer.
That makes sense. I mean, also the people you have playing on these two come from that era. And I mean, I think you kind of said it. That is also like the golden era of really like the music that you're going for on there. Like that is the best era. But, kind of going off of that of the Gaslight Anthem, I mean, because I'm someone who I heard the Gaslight Anthem and only afterwards, like years later, realized like the connections to like that whole New Jersey punk scene. But I mean, I know those guys played in a different couple bands. I mean, Josh or Christian, I mean, did either of you back in the day see any of them play in their old bands or even play with any of their old bands?
I did not myself. I think he's like a little younger than I am. So
no, I think I'm older than you.
Yeah. What's that?
I think I'm older than you.
Oh yeah. I just turned 44. So.
Okay, never mind. You are a little young. I am a little younger. Okay. I'm 42. I'm not that much younger.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, when I kind of got out of the scene, that was life got busy real quick, and certainly wasn't hitting the local shows as much. And when they were typically large bands at the Roseland. I think I saw Midtown a bunch of times. Yeah, it was kind of hard. Life started moving really fast when you get thrown on UPS planes to go fix stuff in Germany and stuff. So.
Yeah, that can be understandable. Yeah, you may not keep your eye on what's going on in the scene then.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think obviously Brian played in Humble Beginnings for a short while.
Yeah.
And Benny was in the Low End Theory, I believe. And of course, Benny did a lot of shows at Manville Elks Lodge. And I'm trying to think of the other two, the Alexes. I'm not sure what they were in, to be honest with you, but I could be just blanking. But they definitely built their own, a good resume for themselves out of the New Jersey local scene. And my friend, and actually a big supporter of Right Turn Eddie, Mike Pilak. I'm sure you know him, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually, it's funny, Mike Pilak was my roommate when we both moved to Los Angeles for a few years. And he went into the whole record industry and was working for Side One Dummy Records and introduced Gaslight Anthem to Side One Dummy. And
wow.
kind of, it's, he I don't think he even believes it himself that he was able to kind of like facilitate that, but he's 35% of the reason they're where they are, I think.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean the 59 sound came off. Their biggest album I would say came off of Side One Dummy. A few of theirs did. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah, so they were on XOXO Records. I think they put their first LP or EP. I can't remember which one, but that was run by a guy named Jay Small, who I think he's not doing his record label anymore, but I think Gilak knew them from that release and then just kind of, went from there.
Nice. Well, we're going to play the song here in a second. I know I keep teasing it, but like Christian, what is next for Jersey Interchange? What else do you have planned coming up that you can talk about?
Well, we have actually coming out, I don't want to put a specific date on it, but coming out very soon will be a digital EP, which is actually going to be a benefit for the Elizabeth Coalition to House the Homeless, which is actually a homeless, I don't want to call it a shelter, but they do help homeless people find housing. And they also, have a soup kitchen and do like clothing and food drives. But my mom has been working with them for almost over 30 years, and
nice.
I used to, as a child, I used to go and help with the soup kitchen, help with my mom's a saint. Throughout growing up with her, she was always having people drop bags, and it looked like we were like the trash people of the neighborhood. But they would drop garbage bags full of like old clothes that they're not using, stuff that basically you put into like a collection container now on our porch, and she would just go down to the coalition and donate the clothes. So it's kind of a cause that's near and dear to my heart, and obviously my mom even more. So we're doing this as a benefit for her. It's a 6-song EP with Josh's and Steve's cover, actually as the opening track. We also and then a couple other, or 5 other, I should say, other songs that have been released in the past. But I think it's a good little collection of songs. It's going to cost people $5, and hopefully more if they want to donate more. Obviously, we're donation window is wide open. So that'll be released in the next few weeks, and I think it'll be a good little piece of enjoyment for people, and will help out an organization that has a great cause attached to it.
Oh, totally. It's cool that is going to a really good cause. And I mean, we're at the end of the year now here too. I mean, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but like how many songs do you think you've released now this year? I mean, I feel like even without doing it weekly, like you've put out a lot of music this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Gaslight cover will be 19.
Wow.
So that'll be 19 songs, and then we have, I mean, there are at least another 12 to 13 in various stages of undress right now, and about 2 or 3 that are pretty close to being wrapped up. But we should definitely give a shout out, at least on this song, to Steve Martin, and obviously Josh here, but also the mixer Zach Miller, who I think I think Josh and I all agree we had it in a place that we were really happy with it, and then we sent it to our mixer, and he just like took it to a place that's just like whoa.
Better. Yeah, it was pretty rad.
Nice.
Yeah.
And a big shout out to Christian for doing this. I don't know how he does this for all of these songs, and I'm sure a lot of it is a real huge pain in the butt. So, just
not too much.
Awesome. I can't say enough about this guy. He's awesome.
Oh, thank you. But all the credit goes to you guys and just making it the best song it can be.
That's rad. Well, I mean, before we play it, you want to let people know where they can find Jersey Interchange online, all that good stuff.
Sure. We have we actually just opened up a web store at jerseyinterchange.bigcartel.com, and we just released a new T-shirt, some stickers, just a pre-order up for the T-shirt. And then the music can all be found on SoundCloud at the NJPP Archives page over there, and that's harder to say over this.
I'll put a link in the description of the podcast.
Yeah,
they can click
go to
on
facebook.com/Jersey Interchange, and there should be a link to our SoundCloud page, and that has all what will be 19 songs that we've released so far. And continue to release. They will all be on there.
Nice. And that is awesome. We'll play. Obviously, we'll play this one, and then we'll play a couple other Jersey Interchange songs as well afterwards. But Josh, Christian, both great talking to you both. And Josh, I mean, that sounds rad. Now you have a studio. I mean, you're gonna keep then maybe using that writing stuff and like recording. Now you got something there.
Yeah. I've started some little projects, and I have some old friends who are musicians. They're scheduled up in the spring to start coming in, because I've actually found I am enjoying the recording process and engineering. So I've kind of really gotten into that side of it too. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's That's very cool. So right now, here they are. We got both Josh and Christian on this one. Great cover. Here they are is Jersey Interchange with their cover of the Gaslight Anthem's Casanova Baby right here on the Power Chord Hour.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was the Scene. I learned something. She said
Checking out. Got to thank Christian again. Go check out Jersey Interchange. They're on.
Are you rolling? It was a cloudy night, or so it looked to me. I felt so lost, I couldn't say why. I needed strength to change my mind, but these ghosts stick to me like glue. Hating life, believing I was no good. Was a darkness all my own. The song played on the radio went straight to my heart. I carried it with me. until the darkness was gone, 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 gone. Ba 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 da 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 da, ba 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 da ba da da da, ba 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 da 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 da, ba 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 da. It was a cloudy night, or so it looked to me. I felt so lost, I couldn't say why. I built this cloud to live in. It was a bunch of lies in my mind. The world wants me to believe it, so I had to change my mind. It was a darkness all my own. A song played on the radio went straight to my heart. I carried it with me until the darkness was gone, 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 gone. Ba 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 da 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 da, ba 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 da 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 da, ba 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 da 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 da, ba 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 da ba da da da. I built this cloud, I could break it. The world can't change how I feel. I know it's a lie. My heart is real. And I've seen some days as dark as the night, and I've closed my eyes trying to find me that light that crawls through the cracks and chisels away. And sometimes a song is all that it takes, and the darkness is gone, and the darkness is gone, and the darkness is gone.
That is hysterical.
This is Roger from Less Than Jake, and you're listening to the Power Chord Hour. Nice.
Right here on the November rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast, that was Art Bergman featuring Wayne Kramer of the MC5 with Christo Fascist. Before that was Joe Normal with Living in the Borough. And if you have not heard it, it was our second interview, our third, I believe, actually. Third. Now I'm second guessing myself. Second or third, I believe, interview ever here on the Power Chord Hour podcast. We did it earlier this year, right when the pandemic started, because I remember we were supposed to do it one day, and then like everything in Los Angeles got shut down where he is, and a few days later happened here in New York. But yeah, I remember it was like right away. It was like the very first interview, like as the pandemic was hitting. So one of the very first early interviews here on the Power Chord Hour podcast, one of the very first episodes, I'd say like in the first 10. So if you've not checked that out, go check it out. He is a great singer-songwriter, and that one definitely has some like Paul Westerberg vibes to it, which I obviously, as you probably know, am definitely a fan of. And before that was a nice big old block of Jersey Interchange for you. That last one was Empty, which is a cover from Wholesale. Before that was Gone, originally done by the Bouncing Souls. And opening up that block was a world premiere of Jersey Interchange's latest cover. That was Casanova Baby, originally of the Gaslight Anthem. And don't forget, you can go find those all on SoundCloud, NJPP SoundCloud, tons of songs. There's like, I mean, Christian said it on there this is their 19th song. So there's 19 songs on there now to go check out. Tons if you've missed them. And talking about if you've missed past interviews, like I said too, he was on back in August. So, you know, go check out that Joe Normal interview. Go check out the other one with Christian. We had him on for like, that was a very in-depth interview. I had tons of fun talking to him tonight with him and Josh. But if you want to hear even more about Jersey Interchange and about Christian's, like, just, you know, his involvement in the scene and just stories from back in the day and all that, definitely go check out our past episode with him from back in August. I off the top of my head, I can't remember what episode number it is. Just go look through the podcast feed wherever you're listening to this. You will find it there, and you can check it out there. But I was very happy to do that. Premiere that. I loved that cover. I thought it was really good. And what I really liked about it is it kind of had a vibe, in my opinion, of like a Gaslight Anthem song had like Brian Fallon written that while he was in Lane Meyer. You know, kind of like that, where like it's a Gaslight Anthem song if those dudes wrote it while they were still like in their like teens and were playing like VFW halls in Jersey, you know. So really, really good cover. But I love all those. I thought that Bouncing Souls cover was just amazing. And Asbury Park, my favorite place in New Jersey, that place holds a special place in my heart for tons of different reasons. And it was very cool they recorded it there. And not only that, I obviously wasn't there. I would love to be. But if you did hear in the beginning of that, like where it's going through all the stations and the radio static, you do hear me for a second. And that little clip there is from my last time Christian was on the show. So I got to thank him for adding me to that, you know, because I thought that was so cool. From the second I heard they were recording like gang vocals in Asbury Park, I was like, that's so goddamn cool. It is. It's my favorite. It's my favorite area around there. I've just had so much fun around there, and even better. Yeah, it is in that area. I was trying to think for a second if it was or if I went out of my way, but I don't think I was. Bagel Masters. Listen, there's so many places in Jersey I haven't been. Maybe I'll get crucified for saying one place has like the best. In my opinion, Bagel Masters in New Jersey is in Asbury Park. The best bagels I've had anywhere. Hands down. Like I go out of my way anytime I'm near that place to go get. If I'm in Jersey, I'm getting Wawa and I'm getting Bagel Masters, and that's, you know. And once again, listen, there's probably places out there that are great. There's so many places in Jersey I've never been. Like, you know, I've my Jersey experiences, while I do love that state, I do realize there's chunks of it I've never been to. So hey, you could probably be like, no, motherfucker, this is where the best bagel is. But in my humble opinion, Bagel Masters is the place to go if you're trying to get bagels and you're near Asbury Park. But yeah. So very, very cool. I'll get off the subject of bagels. I just can't stop tonight. One second I won't shut up about traveling. Now I won't shut up about bagels. But this is your November rundown of the show. So we're going to get into some music news now here before I let you go. We did the new music. Now we got to know what went on in music this month. And I was very excited for this. Richard Hell has now announced that a new reissue of the Voidoid's second record, 1982's Destiny Street, is going to be remastered, remixed. And the album was originally released 5 years after the punk rock debut classic Blank Generation. But Richard Hell was never pleased with the original mix or the sound of the album. And just took a very long time to record. I think rampant drug use and just a bunch of different other things made it not the smoothest recording to, ever go down in the history of recordings. But, Richard, 40 years later now, is finally fixing the things that he wants to fix on it. And for its 40th anniversary, this new box set, Destiny Street Complete, is going to include the new remixed version of the album along with the original mix, a 2009 remix that Richard Hell also did, as well as a collection of demos and rarities from that era, which I'm very, very excited for. And Hell also worked on this remix and remaster with Nick Zinner of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and the collection will be out next January here, so just a couple months, on Omnivore Recordings. They always do great. I've spoken on it a bunch on here, but Omnivore, just like Rhino Records, both really good at reissuing some classic stuff. Like, I never feel ripped off by because let's be honest, when you reissue albums, it's very easy to just like pull it out of your ass, a remaster that no one really can tell the difference of. Maybe if you're lucky, some added liner notes or something. But a lot of times when they re-release something, because you are doing exactly that. You're re-releasing it. Like, it needs to be worth something to go buy it again. And Omnivore is very good at that. I know, like one in particular, the Posies, when they re-released a few years ago, and we had Ken Stringfellow on the show when they did it. But their classic 3 major label records, those, even if you had those original records, they did such a good job on the remaster, and just all the bonus tracks you got with it, like all this unheard music, it was so well worth it. You know what I mean? Like, it really had this, and same with the extra liner notes and stuff, it really had this feeling of completeness to it, where you're like, you could hear it, you could hear these songs all the way stripped back to their earliest home demos, all the way to, how amazing and huge they sound on, records like Frosting on the Beater. So Omnivore does really good. And I think Rhino, they fucked up a little on the Pleased to Meet Me box set, getting it out, not on the box set itself. I thought they did a good job on that. But, they obviously had some fuck-ups on getting it out there with some delays, which, right now is kind of understandable. But they dropped the ball that way. But I won't say the quality of the box set. If you've heard that episode where I reviewed the box set, they did a nice job on it. But they do a good job of that, where you don't feel getting ripped off buying a record for the third or fourth time in your life. And I would say the same with Blank Generation, which that one actually, funny enough, Rhino, I believe, did that back in 2017, I think it was, that would have been the 40th anniversary of Blank Generation. I believe they did that for tons of just unreleased stuff and demos and rarities and stuff. So another one that is well worth checking out if you never have, if you're a fan. And I'm excited for this re-release. I will say I know a few songs off Destiny Street, but I don't think I've ever listened to it front to back. I've only really gotten into Richard Hell. I love him now, but I really only started listening to him maybe 2 years ago. I think I heard Blank Generation for the first time, like 2018. So, this is what I was talking about earlier on in the show, like how me getting into music, like the New Jersey punk scene, a decade after it was defunct, things like that, where like I find these scenes, long after they happen. So, I still discover a lot of Richard Hell stuff. But one thing I will say, even going along with that, is, there's stuff to discover, but not tons, because he really stopped making music after Destiny Street. But that's why I like these reissues, where I'm like, this is stuff you should reissue, because there's all this extra added stuff. Like, Richard Hell wasn't, like, the Voidoids weren't a band who, like, put out 10 records. You know what I mean? There's 2 albums and that's it. And, Destiny Street, it's also cool to see it get loved, because it's always, I think, had that stigma of, in Blank Generation, it's hard to follow up, but, it took him 5 years to do it. I think Richard Hell had, like, very big drug problems, which got in the way. And, obviously, as you can tell, too, as this is his second go-around at kind of working on it, and if you go read the press release, he talks about how it's taken 40 years to really kind of complete this in a way that he's happy about, But I believe it, too. It's not like a bullshit, like, PR thing. Like, this is how we, like, him saying that to sell it. Like, why are you doing this now? Like, oh, I've always wanted to. He's always talked about his dissatisfaction and stuff. So I think it's cool that he got to do this. I think it's very cool. It'll be very exciting to have more stuff to go along with it as well. All these outtakes and I think some live tracks and stuff too. But it's in the hands of Omnivore Recordings, so I trust them. I would love to have. He is one I'll have to reach out to. Richard Hell, or really even a few members of the Voidoids even, would be very cool to talk to. I would absolutely love. But Richard Hell specifically, because that guy really gets credit for being just such a big, like, just a godfather of punk rock. You know what I mean? Like, really one of the first ones. Like, the way he dressed, people ripped off the way he dressed. Like, there's just that man oozed with originality, and still does. And might I also say the other thing, he is, I think, 72 years old. He's in his 70s, but I want to say he's 72. And I just saw a picture of him from, like, some Gucci thing that he did. He was, like, at a like fashion show for Gucci, and there's a picture of him and his wife. You would not think this man is 70 years old. You would not think this man is in the 70s one bit. And, it's great, which, like, great for him for getting sober and cleaning himself up, because he was very much a mess at one point in his life. And I think he's talked about, too, one of the reasons why I think he stepped away from music was kind of that. I think in some ways he kind of put that behind him when he put the drugs and stuff behind him. But, looks amazing. And including how many guys did he come up with back in that original, the 77 boom, and, just everyone else. Well, for one, look at all the Heartbreakers. He was a founding member, even though he wasn't on LAMF. Everyone else who was in the Heartbreakers, who's on that record, is now dead. And, he's outlived all those guys. A lot of the other guys that he's played with throughout the years. All those, like, CBGB's guys, all the Ramones and stuff. He's just outlived so many people, and to see him in such good shape, he looks really healthy and really good, that, like, I don't think we're going to lose him anytime soon. He looks very happy and healthy, and just an absolute legend. So I would love to talk to him. I'd love to get him on here. And another favorite of mine, something really cool came out this month. Punchline have finally released their long-awaited Punchline music special. Again, kind of as a surprise. They kind of, I don't think there was really much leading up to it. It's been long-awaited, but they didn't really tell you it was coming out now. So it was a really nice surprise. And it's really, really cool. If you're wondering what a music special is, they went above and beyond. It has everything from live footage, band practice, interviews, candid moments, them playing acoustic, in the back of vans, just a bunch of other just different random stuff, tons more. And really, really something that you don't see done much now. For one, the whole way that it was put together is very unique, and there's not really much else like it. But even just that whole thing where bands would put out band DVDs of, like, Life on the Road and, that bonus footage, there was, including in the early 2000s, and really Punchline have been great at this, because speaking of the early 2000s, they had a few in the early 2000s, which I still think are classic, like the DVD that came with their album Action, and Clandestine, Pete Wentz's old clothing line, released a DVD called Release the Bats, and has footage of Punchline touring with, or Fall Out Boy touring with Punchline in, I believe, Japan, like back in like 03, 04. like different things like that, which are just great DVDs, like are fun to pop in from time to time and watch. And you don't see bands do that anymore. And Punchline did it with this, but also made it really did make it something original. Like it's not just a bunch of random shit. Like it's all sequenced together. It's just really, really well done. Like I really, even if you don't know Punchline, like this is actually probably a good introduction from them, because it kind of spans different parts of their career. And the whole release thing for the special, to kind of help put words to it, says, the special is much more than just a concert. It is a time capsule that captures the essence of Punchline. And as a fan, I 100%, have to agree with that, for sure. Really a cool band who's always been very, very fan friendly, very great with the fans. Have always been good with just more than just the music. You know what I mean? Like the added content, for lack of a better word, but whether it's, Quinterviews or Texas Toast or any of the other stuff Chris does, or, the side projects that the bands do, or the Vipers, or whatever it is, they've always been really creative, at doing more than just being a band who just releases an album every couple of years. So I was very happy to see this come out. They announced that they were filming for it a couple years back. So, I mean, this has been anticipated by fans for a couple years now. But if you want to go check out the Punchline Music Special, which I highly recommend, whether or not you're a fan, if you're a fan, you're going to like it already. But, I mean, if you don't know Punchline, I think this isn't the worst way to get into them. You're going to hear a bunch of songs from them from different albums. You kind of get a different taste. Like I will say, I mean, they've been a band for so long. There's such different eras. I mean, this really encapsulates, I'd say the last few records. And there's a few older songs on there, but I mean, this is a good one. But I mean, check this out, and also go check out 37 Everywhere, their album Action. I mean, all their records are good though. Lion, which they put out a few years back here, really, really good. Just tons of a band who changes their sound throughout the years, but always in a good way. They adapt in a way where I think they stay fresh. And I'm never disappointed. So, yeah, definitely go check this out, the Punchline Music Special. It is now up on Amazon Prime. You can also go get it on their website, punchlion.com. Not lion, like the animal. So go check that one out. I was very excited for that to finally come out. And one more piece of music news for you before I let you go for the November rundown. I was very happy to see this, and a guy who I think deserves it greatly. And also, just very replacemency. I mean, let's just be honest here. But music author and journalist Bob Mayer, who, if you are a fan of the Replacements, follow them at all, you probably hear that name constantly. The man is so busy, really the last 5 years being the official, unofficial, really kind of official. He's worked with all of the dudes from that band, but really telling their story, archiving things, going through things that no one else has ever seen. Wrote Trouble Boys, has written the liner notes for all these reissues, and just really such a great just a guy in music. Is just really making sure that the Replacements name does not get lost in history. He's done a great job of it, and he has been nominated for a Grammy for Best Album Notes for his liner notes in the Replacements in 2019 Dead Man's Pop box set. And this nomination actually comes 30 years after the Replacements were nominated but lost, sadly. And I don't know who the fuck won, but they need to retract that, because I can 100% guarantee you, not even knowing who they lost to, they were not better. Definitely the Replacements should have won Best Alternative Music Performance. Fuck whoever won that. That's like that whole Metallica Jethro Tull thing, where it's just bullshit, and that's one of them. Honestly, the Replacements should win the Grammys for fucking everything. Best Electronic Album, Best Folk Duo, just things that have nothing to even do with them. They just deserve all the Grammys. But 30 years ago at the 1990 Grammys, the Replacements were nominated for that, and now 30 years later, Bob Mayer has been nominated. And like he said, he wrote a really cool Facebook post on it. But like he said, it's it is a Replacements nomination, but how Replacements-y too? It's the Replacements got nominated, but for Best Album Notes. I didn't even know that was a category. Like, you know, but Bob deserves it. Like, I 100%. I hope he wins this. He would deserve. It'd be so deserving. It is cool. It is cool that it's actually like as much as it's like, oh, I had no clue that was a category. It's very cool that that is a category because, like I've been talking about, you know, like with the Richard Hell reissue, it's like these record labels like Omnivore and Rhino have been going the extra mile and doing really good jobs on these reissues where the liner notes are really special. There's like interviews in there. You hear all this, you know, they interview the members of the band. You know, you get guys like Bob who are just great writers and are fans of the music anyways, and in their own words tell you like what the music makes them feel, and like, you know, just a Replacements historian for this, and not just Replacements. I mean, Memphis music, so many other things. Like he's just an amazing guy, and I mean, Trouble Boy is my favorite, like rock bio, whatever you want to call it, of all time. One of my favorite books of all time, and just a great guy, well deserving of this. And, you know, still a Replacements nomination too. You know, it's going to him, but it is a Replacements one. So it would be great if they won that. And again, like, that would be their Grammy. Like, the Replacements, not a Grammy for music. They just have great liner notes. Like, fuck Left of the Dial, fuck Bastards of Young, fuck Unsatisfied, Taking a Ride, You're Getting Married, like, I'll Be You, and like, all of these, Can't Hardly Wait. All these songs that are just like, goddamn, like some of the greatest songs of all time. We're not gonna acknowledge you for that, but those liner notes, goddamn, those are some liner notes. But you know, whatever. It's fucking cool. Like, what are you gonna say? It's funny, but it's really, really cool. Like, I really, genuinely, like, want to congratulate Bob for that. Really awesome. Couldn't happen to a better guy, better band. And that box set was awesome. If you've not checked Dead Man's Pop Out, well worth checking out, as well as that Pleased to Meet Me box set. You know, both of those. Anything with the Replacements name on it is worth checking out. You know, I think you know that's what you're going to get around here. That's the best shit. If the Replacements are on it, you know it's going to be good. So, yeah, some good news, some nice positive news to end the month on. And once again, as we're closing up here, want to thank Josh and Christian again for doing that interview. Loved having them on. Have never had a guest on one of these monthly rundowns, and we had two, so that was awesome. And it was very fun to also not only do that, but premiere that cover of Casanova Baby. You can go check it out again on their SoundCloud, njpp.soundcloud.com, and go give them a follow. Jersey Interchange is on Facebook and Instagram. I was trying to remember. I know they're not on one of them. It's Twitter that they're not on, but they are on Insta and Facebook. So go give them a follow. Follow us. We're at Power Chord Hour on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Shout out to you if you're listening to this on YouTube. We're on Spotify. I put up all the playlists for the radio show, all the shit that I play on there. I put up on those playlists. We do the Power Chord Crash Courses, put one up a few weeks ago for Jimmy Eat World, and a nice little rundown of their career. Not just the greatest hits. You're not going to find the middle on there. You're not going to find the real predictable songs. I went with the more obscure hits and fan favorites, and just kind of a good way, you know. I mean, if you just want a Jimmy Eat World playlist, it's good for that. But also, if you want to get into the band and you want to kind of like find a good starting point, I would say it's Power Chord Crash Course playlist. So you can go find that on Spotify. Follow us on all those places if you would. PowerChordHour@gmail.com. Hit me up. If you rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, I will send you a free Power Chord Hour t-shirt. Just send me a screenshot of that review at PowerChordHour@gmail.com. And we do have, they're not here yet, but they should be here in like a week or so, new Power Chord Hour stickers. We got 250 made in the summer. They're all gone. I've never had a promotional item that people want so goddamn bad. So we made more, and they'll be here soon. So if you want some of those, hit me up. You don't even have to review the show. I'll just send those out for free, powerchordhour@gmail.com. Shoot me your address, and I'll write it down. And when the stickers are here, I'll send them out. So that is that. Also, check out the radio show every Friday night on 107.9 WRFA in Jamestown, New York. You can listen to that from anywhere at WRFALP.com. And you check out all the other good programs. There are shows much better than this one on WRFA. So check out mine, but check out all the other ones because there's a lot of rad stuff. And also, too, I mean, I say it all the time, a radio show is different from this. I play more music on there. I talk and stuff too. It's not like I just play music. I mean, the 2 hours, I talk more than enough. Trust me, don't worry. You'll hear me talk my fucking mouth off on there too. But yeah, you can check out the radio show every Friday night, 10 Eastern to midnight, spinning you the best punk and alternative, going from everything from Richard Hell to the newest stuff out there, everything in between. Let's check out the radio show. But I'll be back next week with a new one for you. Not sure who will be the guest yet, but you'll find out as well as I will next Monday on a new one. But until then, for the Power Chord Hour podcast, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thanks for listening.